Hello, and welcome and thank you for joining our presentation, Is Your Restaurant Ready to Go Ghost? Brought to you by UEAT and Clarion Food and Beverage Events. Before we get started with our discussion, we'd like to share some housekeeping items for you to keep in mind. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We'll be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to use the question panel to ask our speakers questions throughout the presentation. There'll be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation as well. Please note, this webinar is being recorded and will be available online in the coming week. In today's webinar, you'll hear from Andi Yeti, my apologies, Marketing Manager for Kinka Family, and RP Plourde, Content Manager of UEAT. Now, without further delay, let me introduce you to RP Plourde.
All right, thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for the quick introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I gotta say, I am beyond thrilled to be joining you today for this amazing chat I'm gonna have with Andi. So first of all, please allow me to quickly introduce myself while I take a look at both of my screens right here. So my name is RP Plourde. I'm the head of the UEAT University Initiative, which is a team inside UEAT where we are creating educational content to help restaurant owners and operators make the technical transformation easy and profitable. So before we talk to our guests and before we dive into the agenda and questions, real quick introduction about UEAT. So UEAT, our mission is to help restaurant owners and operators increase their revenue, optimize their operations, and foster customer loyalty with innovative ordering tools. So what kind of innovative ordering tools are we talking about here? Well, basically at UEAT, our products, our three core solutions are first, online ordering. So online ordering directly integrated on your restaurant's website. And if you wish to offer, let's say, the opportunity for your customers to download your own branded mobile app on the App Store and Google Play Store, we also fully support white label mobile apps. And finally, I think we're all pretty excited to head back to our favorite restaurant, head back to the dining rooms, and take the next logical step. So we are also offering contactless self-ordering tools. So the three products that you currently see on your screen are what we call in the software industry white label. So what do we mean by white label? Well, basically, we have spent millions of dollars building the very best ordering tools, and you benefit. So once a customer signs up with UEAT, we personalize, we tailor-made our solution for each restaurant. So you will see your brand adapted to your brand, your colors, your menu. So in the end, this will give the impression to your customers that you spent millions of dollars building the platform yourself. And also what makes UEAT truly unique is we also support artificial intelligence. So we have developed our very own artificial intelligence module, which we call Ray. It's going to let you create personalized guest experience for each of your guests without human interactions. And obviously, happier customers means recurring customers, means more money. And that's our philosophy. Again, that's our mission at UEAT. We want to democratize artificial intelligence to make it sure that's available for any restaurants, whether it's an independent, small mom and pop location or multi-restaurant chains. We want to make sure everyone benefits from AI. And we are currently providing online ordering solution to thousands of restaurants all over Canada, the United States, and in Europe. And one of these brands is Kinton Ramen. So we thought it would be the great opportunity for us to sit down with the Kinka family and ask them key questions about different topics in the industry. So enough about me, enough about UEAT. Let's welcome our guest, Andi Tjah, Marketing Manager from the Kinka family. So Andi, you want to log in so we can see your beautiful face? There you go. So Andi, welcome to the show. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I got to say, we are beyond thrilled to be spending the next couple minutes with you this afternoon. Do you mind, Andi, quickly introducing yourself? And for those who have yet to learn about the Kinka family, do you mind sharing about your brand as well.
Sure. So again, thank you everybody. Thank you, Renee, for the introduction. Thank you for those who are attending. Obviously, bear with me. This is my first time doing a webinar, so I apologize if something is not perfect. But to Renee's point, yes, this is I'm the marketing manager at Kinka Family. Kinka Family right now, we operate 5 brands. We have Kinton Ramen, one of our, I would say, flagship brand, right? Kintori Yakitori, which is more of a Japanese skewer type of establishment, right? As we specialize in that. Neo Coffee Bar is a Japanese cafe and pastry, and then Kinka Izakaya is more of a Japanese tapas style. And Tjah Bistro is our high-end sushi establishment. So each of our 5 brands, we have different offerings. It's positioned differently within the market, right? But again, going back to our Kinton Ramen brand is one of our flagship brands because, I think aside from having the most number of locations, I think ramen has that feeling of it attracts basically various demographics, right? You can go to a ramen establishment for a celebration. You can go there if you're looking for some comfort food, right? So it addresses different things. So, and I think that's why, this brand specifically, it resonates with the brand, with customers quite well.
Absolutely. And again, 5 different brands. We have a lot to talk about because I do have a lot of questions. So before we begin, and if it's okay with you, let's take a look at the agenda, the different topics. Because again, I gotta say, I could spend the entire afternoon just you and I chat about different topics, but let's just focus for the next couple of minutes. These are basically the 5 topics that we're going to be discussing today. So customer experience, obviously, Kinton Ramen is known for its great customer experience, so I do have some few questions for that as well. Ghost kitchens. Obviously, I think ghost kitchen is one of the hot topic right now. So we're going to discuss on what you folks are doing. If you have any tips as well on how can we better strive with this marketing strategy as well. Delivery, which is one of the key customers' expectations now. So delivery, how are you meeting these customers' expectations with delivery? And since you're a marketing manager, we thought we also have some key questions about marketing. How can we help other restaurant owners and operators make better marketing strategies for their brands? And finally, AI, so artificial intelligence. I think it's kind of the buzzword right now. I think basically every single industry is talking about AI. So we'll hear your take on AI and what can we also provide to help restaurants. Because again, the mission is I want to make sure that this webinar is to help as many restaurant operators as possible. All right. So awesome. Before I ask you my first question, Andi, at the UEAT University, where pretty much basically every single day we're chatting with restaurant owners and operators, and I think one of the key questions that's been asked by restaurant owners in 2021 are, what are the customers' expectations in 2021 when they're ordering their food? Obviously, there's COVID and whatnot. But way before the pandemic, we saw a huge shift with the customer's expectations. So we thought before we started with the customer experience section that we could just take a look at the new customer expectations and just hear your take to see if you feel the same way, if that meets the expectations from your customers, basically. So when a customer is ordering online, they're ordering their food, their expectations, obviously, number one, it needs to be quick, lightning quick. I think we're all, we just take a look at Amazon when we're ordering a package, the delivery with Prime Delivery, you want it as soon as possible. Well, the ordering process is the same thing. And also, we're talking about frictionless. So frictionless is removing any unnecessary steps, because if they feel like you're adding additional steps just for them to have their food ordered quickly, they'll probably drop their cart and chances are they'll go somewhere else and they probably won't be back. So I think this one is extremely important with frictionless. And also, I don't know if you would agree, Andi, but we've discovered in the trends right now that if your online ordering solution is not available 24/7, which means that your online ordering should be open even if your physical restaurant is closed. We realize that people are ordering outside the typical business hours like never before. I don't know if you saw that as well with your 5 different brands.
So as of right now, the available 24/7 is not something that that's available for us, right now, because a lot of our operations, it's still tied to, the brick and mortar locations, right? So we are operating within the regular business hours, but, if you're a 24/7 establishment, or if you have a concept that is completely a ghost kitchen concept and you're able to accommodate in that manner, certainly something that you can explore, right? Of course, you'll do your analysis and see, how much incremental revenue can you actually bring in, having staff during that time, right? Having expectations of the number of people that are actually ordering past, let's say, 11 p.m., right? I think a lot of it is tied to, again, what are your overhead costs, right? What is sort of your strategy during, those quiet times? Where is the midnight? Where it is, where it's 1 a.m. in the morning? Like, what do you do during that time, right? So I do agree 24/7 can work for some businesses, right?
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
our brand specifically, it does not, right?
I do have to say I love this, because obviously you're spot on what you say, that depending on the type of restaurant you're operating, I think it all comes down to the fact that if you feel this is a good business choice, you should be able to provide that option to your customers, because they want to order. Typically, they want to order ahead. That's their key objective here. They want to order ahead, depending on when they want to order, and which is a great. The next point, delivery as well. Customers are expecting delivery like never before, and I gotta say, for many restaurants who have yet to, either they don't quite offer their own in-house delivery solution, and it's given because it's pretty expensive to offer your own in-house delivery. If you take a look at third-party delivery apps, they could charge you a high commission, and it's not always easy to offer delivery. So good news, we'll talk more about delivery later. And finally, they want a personalized buying experience. They want to make sure that when they're buying, they're not getting the exact same experience every single time, or the same experience as their family member or their neighbor. So how can we create these personalized buying experience? Spoiler alert, we're going to talk a lot more about that during our artificial intelligence section later on. So I just wanted to put it out there that the new customers' expectations in 2021, and it's constantly evolving. So there's always new expectations, but these are the summary of some of the customers' expectations right now. So let's start off with customer experience. So again, as I said, Kinton Ramen is known for its phenomenal customer experience. So my first question to you would be, what makes a great customer experience in a quick service restaurant?
Well, I think it's a lot of things, right? I think a lot of people would kind of default to food specifically, right? But for Kinton Ramen specifically, and based on my experience, it goes beyond that. It's the overall restaurant experience, whether you're dining in or whether you're taking out or whether you're ordering delivery, right? It is, again, the concept of quick service is you're supposed to get your food relatively quickly, right? Now, to take it a step further, the food presentation must be amazing, right? And on top of that, the taste has to be great as well, right? If you're ordering takeout, it's all those things in addition to, well, did the staff give you all the cutlery that you need, right? Did they accommodate the changes that you're requesting, right? So to me, it starts off being quick service where you are getting your food in a timely manner, but it goes way beyond that.
Sure, and you said a good point about the food presentation. How can you make sure that once the food leaves your restaurant and it arrives 10, 15 minutes later, the customer's home, how can you make sure that that presentation you just talked about is the same both in restaurant and inside their home?
Right, and that's the challenge, right? I mean, you nailed it yourself. It's how do we make sure that it's consistent? Because let's say you're working with Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever the case may be, you don't know what happens in trend, right? So for us, what we try to do is we try to make sure that the way that we're presenting in store is the same that we're presenting it when we're delivering, takeout, or someone's ordering takeout, or we're doing delivery. We're making sure that the containers are stable, right, when ordering takeout. So it's more about what can we streamline and how can we streamline it to make sure that all the presentation is consistent with one another. And that's sort of the approach that we've gone with, right? And up until now, Kinton Ramen specifically, it's quite, I would say it's quite simple in that, you have noodles and you have your toppings, right? The broth is in a separate container, right? So we have those things sort of figured out. And I think that has worked well for us, but it's more about, streamline where possible, making sure that your containers are right, making sure that your presentation is consistent, right? So then you also manage the customer expectation to some degree.
I think the key word here is consistency, basically, right? So consistency, you want to make sure that whatever they're ordering from, they should have the same experience. Doesn't need to change depending on what city or what location they're ordering from, right? And yourself, how can you create a good buying experience online?
So again, there are a couple layers there, right? So for us, on the marketing side, is making sure that our website is consistent and it's reflective of what you're going to see in store, right? So if you go to the Kinton Ramen website right now, a lot of the designs that we have on the website is consistent with what you're going to see in store, right? The color schemes, right? The way that we display our menus, right? And then, as an extension of that, we are using UEAT right now, right? So the buying experience there is to make sure that all the categories are consistent with what you're seeing on the menu, making sure that the options are consistent with what you're seeing on the UEAT on in store as well as online, right? So for us, for Kinton specifically, for example, you order a ramen, you can order thick or thin noodles, you can add toppings if you wish, you can add drinks if you wish, right? So that is the same experience that you have online, right? And to allude to your earlier point about frictionless, we try to do that as well, right? We try to do that on UEAT as well, right? We try to make it as simple as possible, as quick as possible, right? Because, who wants to be going through 5, 6 stages in order for you to check out and pay, right? So we try to make sure that as a quick service concept is that, hey, it's the same concept online, right? Make sure that our website is consistent. You have all the information that you need, and then there's a link to your our UEAT platform, and you can do the same thing where it's quick. Choose the ramen, choose the topping, choose the drinks, and so on.
And again, I think that's spot on, because you want to make sure that the customer doesn't get frustrated if they want to add like an extra, or if they want to remove something from their entire meal. It needs to be quick and frictionless. And since you have locations in different cities in Canada and in the US, do you see any subtle differences between the customer's expectations in both countries?
We do. I mean, because we have a lot of locations in Canada, as we have a few in the US as well. We try to streamline our menu as much as possible, right? Operationally, it makes it easier on our operations team, of course, but in terms of the food offering specifically, yes, there are some items that are available in Canada and that's not available in the US, right? And that's based off of analyzing, the number of orders that's been made based on that item specifically. Do we need to tweak the recipe, or do we remove it completely? Those are the discussions that we have on the back end, but there are subtle differences. For the most part, our brand specifically, we keep the presentation consistent, but in respect to the items, we look at the number of orders, we look at the analytics on the back end and seeing whether or not that's a smart thing for us to do, to keep on the menu, right? Because there is cost associated with that and keeping inventory and so on.
So what I'm hearing is that you get access to your data. So every order that goes through the system, you have the opportunity to build business intelligence, taking a look at your most popular dishes, what people are ordering, the extras and whatnot. That obviously is key for your brand, or for any brand, pretty much to have that data, right?
For sure, yes.
Yeah, great. So again, talking about the customer's expectations, how you're meeting also these expectations of creating great customer experience. I think the hot topic right now, going back to ghost kitchens. So for those of you who don't know, haven't heard about ghost kitchens, basically the lightning quick definition is it's also called we're hearing multiple different synonyms for the same thing. We're hearing dark kitchens, digital kitchens, or even cloud kitchens. So basically a ghost kitchen is there's no physical dining rooms in the restaurant. The only way for customers to order from their restaurant is online. So it's an online only business model, and you're focusing on delivery. There's a lot of different benefits and advantages to ghost kitchens. So let me dive into, because I do have a lot of good questions for you, because you're my go-to person for that. So why do you think ghost kitchens are so popular right now?
Well, I think first and foremost for me, it's about the power of, I would say, digital content, digital marketing at this point, right? The evolution of IT, all of that sort of contributes to the rise of ghost kitchens, right? Because more and more people now are shopping online, right? They're buying things online. They're spending more time on mobile, right? It's just the way we live now, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the rise in, I would say, real estate prices, right? It's becoming more expensive to actually have a brick and mortar location, the overhead costs associated with that, the staff costs associated with that, right? So I think those two, and I'm sure there are more, right? But I think, those two contributing factors are quite significant, right? And I think ghost kitchens in itself, that is, and you might have a question about this later, but that is one of the benefits, right? You don't have to spend as much depending on where your objective is, depending on what your strategy is, right? So, so to me, that's why the ghost kitchens are becoming more and more popular, right? You can, it is digital content, digital marketing, it has become stronger. IT is going to continue to evolve, right? And so I think, we'll see something interesting perhaps in the next few years in terms of what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I think the key question I'm always asking restaurants who are offering ghost kitchens is, what are the top benefits, the top advantages and disadvantages of ghost kitchens? I'm curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so in terms of the pros, let's start with the pros. So the first would be, to me, is staffing, right? Let's say you have an existing business, an existing restaurant. You don't have to hire new staff if you don't want to. You can use your existing staff, right? You can allow your staff to gain new skill set, right? I think that's the other benefit as well. You're able to use perhaps a portion of your restaurant that you're currently not using, right? And of course, the added benefit is incremental revenue as well, and that's what we all want. That's what all restaurants want, right? So those are the pros, right? The cons would be, let's say you do have to hire new staff, right? That's a possibility given what your ghost kitchen concept is, right? And also, the con would be, and depending on whether it's a new brand, existing brand, it does not do well in the market, right? That is one of the cons there. And then, lastly is that the customer experience and the customer interaction, right? And I think that's where the toughest part is, because everything is geared towards takeout. Everything is geared towards delivery. You have less customer interaction there. So you're relying heavily on food delivery platforms such as Uber Eats and DoorDash, and making sure that they are delivering, on time in a timely manner, that the presentation is correct, right? And with that, there is the cost with delivery platforms as well, because they take a commission, right? So that, I would say, those are the pros and cons of ghost kitchens, in my opinion.
I think that's great, because going back to the real estate you said, I think we're all seeing how expensive real estate can be. Like in let's say you want to open a restaurant downtown, it's going to be extremely expensive. But now with ghost kitchen, what you could do, basically you could go maybe outside the city or outside downtown and have online only. So that way you're going to save money. But also, like you said, it's not always easy, because you spend all this energy, all this time and effort getting your customers over to your platform to order. And the last part of the process is handing your your brand's reputation in another company, so as the delivery partners. So my question is, how can you make sure that you do provide quality service to your customers when there's no brick and mortar front facing customer at all? So how can you make sure you offer them a good experience? You talked about consistency earlier, but how can you make sure that they will be back for more?
So there are a couple of things here. The first would be, from a presentation perspective, and I keep going back to presentation because I do think it's an important component of any restaurant. It's the first thing that we see, right? That is sort of the first impression that we're going to make, right? Next would be taste, but that's after the presentation, right? Based on my own experiences, if you see food presentation that's not very appealing, the question is, will that affect your taste buds? Some people will say, yeah, that will actually affect how I actually taste the food, right? So that's an important factor. And I think engaging with customers through social media is important as well. Because if you're a ghost kitchen, I'm assuming you would create an Instagram account or a Facebook business account, right? So that is the appropriate way to do it, right? If something does not go well, customers will go to let's say an Instagram page, they will include a comment or they will send you a direct message, right? So the experience is that as well, right? To make sure that you respond in a timely manner, to make sure that you solve the issues that customers are presenting, right? Because there is less customer interaction, that is the challenge, right? The solution or the temporary solution perhaps is that aside from the food presentation, aside from the taste, is that any comments, any issues that customers will raise and they get in touch with you through direct messages, you make sure that you are responding in a timely manner.
Absolutely. I love the fact that they're saying that ghost kitchens should automatically be associated as well with social media, because I think it's a great segue. My next question is, what was your marketing strategy for launching your own ghost kitchens?
Yeah, so with Kinka family, we actually had a few ghost kitchen concepts. We had about 4. We are slowly phasing them out though. So with Kinton Ramen specifically, we had a concept called a bori buns. It's a street style Japanese hot dog bun, hot dog concept, right? We have Tokyo Sando and chicken, which is associated with Kinka Izakaya. We have Japosando & Co., which is associated with Neil Coffee Bar, which is more of a healthier concept, right? Healthy juices, healthy sandwiches, and soups. And then we have Hashiya pasta as well, which is a Japanese pasta style concept that we have. So, but again, based off of the sales results and based on our analytics, we have Tokyo Sando and chicken left. The other brands, it's been phased out. Well, but going back to your question about the strategy behind the ghost kitchens, what do? The first thing that we do is actually we want to maximize our digital platform. We want to maximize our digital footprint, right? It is, the strategy is still to acquire and to retain consumers. It is to leverage our existing database as well, right? It is to essentially perhaps sending email newsletters to our existing database that we have for Kinton Ramen brand specifically to basically inform them, hey, we have several ghost kitchen concepts that we think you'll enjoy based off of our core brands, which are 5 Kinka family brands, and how they translate into the 4 different ghost kitchen concepts that we have, right? So the strategy is to expand our digital platform and our digital footprint to acquire and retain consumers.
So what you're saying is, since you had access to your customer data, you were able to take a look at customer trends and send them personalized or maybe like a newsletter, which we're actually going to discuss later. I'm kind of curious to see what metrics were you following to evaluate your success? You're saying you're thinking of phasing out a few projects of ghost kitchens. What metrics are you following to evaluate your success?
There are a couple of metrics, right? I mean, the first and foremost would be the order numbers, right? The number of orders. Again, this is just a high level, right? But the number of orders, number of sales, of course, but things such as number of new customers, number of repeat customers, average order size, right? Those are some of the metrics that we would be looking at on our back end, right? Preliminary metrics that we would look at to make sure that whether or not the business is healthy, whether or not it's smart for us to continue to operate, right? Because again, with the ghost kitchen concepts, you are taking on additional inventory. You are putting an additional strain on perhaps your operations team if you are not going to hire new staff, right? So, those are just some of the metrics that we could look at on our end.
I think my next logical question for you then, any tips for restaurateurs who are considering launching their own ghost kitchens?
Yeah, so I think there are two things for me from what I'm seeing. Is that if you are an existing business, perhaps, and you want to venture into ghost kitchens, right? Think about, is this a concept that you want to have available permanently, or is this something that you want to have as a temporary means to make sure you get by, right? So, for example, for Kinka family specifically, right? The idea of creating those ghost kitchen concepts is to navigate through COVID pandemic, right? Because obviously the dine-in was not available, right? So essentially our sales were cut down by 70%, 80% of our sales are gone, right? So the ghost kitchen concepts were created to make sure that we are receiving those incremental revenue that would help us in sort of navigate and get by, so to speak, right? And that's part of the reason why we are phasing out some of our ghost kitchen concepts, because hopefully the situation becomes better, that more and more people are going to dine in, right? So first and foremost, I would sort of figure that out as first. Do you want this as a permanent brand, or do you want this as a temporary brand? The second would be, what is your objective in terms of this concept, this ghost kitchen concept, right? And how does this relate to your existing brand? How are you able to leverage sort of the power of your existing brand to, inform customers that these two brands are either connected or are they separate, right? So, those are just some of the tips that I have. And also, of course, are you able to leverage existing manpower, or would you need to hire additional staff? Would you need to partner with delivery platforms? In most cases, you do, right? You will partner with Uber Eats and DoorDash and so on. But again, how does the commission fee sort of fit into your overall financial analysis? Like, how does that work, right? Or, are you going to have your own delivery fleet? If so, would you need to, do you think you'll need to partner with Uber Eats and DoorDash, right? If or are you able to integrate, let's say you eat with, with what we do now here with Kinton Ramen is integrate with DoorDash Drive, meaning that we integrate with, so we're using DoorDash's delivery fleet, so to speak, right? So there is no commission there. It's more of a flat rate, which works better on our end, right, based on our calculation. So those are just some of the things that I would think about before, I start thinking about, whether or not I want to venture into a ghost kitchen concept, right? And again, market analysis is an important aspect of it. Understanding your market size and how much revenue you can potentially receive out of the market size that you have, right? That's really important as well.
Absolutely. And going back to your delivery scenario right here, that was one of the top customer expectations in 2021. And as you can tell, delivery is also part of what makes ghost kitchen so popular. So the next section for delivery, if you visit your website, so if you go on Kinton Ramen's website, we are welcome with no third-party delivery app fees. That's one of the first things that you see on screen. Do you mind sharing why it's important to share that information with your customers?
Yeah, so for us, we wanted to, our objective was clear at this point, right? It's, delivery platforms, they take a commission out of every order, right? Depending on how, obviously the commission gets larger when the order becomes larger, right? Whereas UEAT specifically, again, we're using DoorDash Drive, we have a flat rate. It does not matter, of course, how large the order is, the fee remains the same, right? So for us, it's to drive customers to our UE platform. That's the main objective. But I think the other factor that we cannot forget is it's about just being transparent, being transparent with consumers as well. We're helping customers in that you don't have to pay third-party delivery app fees. At the same time, you're benefiting our business as well in allowing us to retain more of our revenue as well, right? So it's to communicate more of that partnership, I would say, with customers that, hey, I help you, you help me, right? And that's sort of the relationship that we're looking to build with customers as well, right? And I think especially with COVID, you notice a lot of businesses are they are getting on board delivery platforms, right, as a means to hopefully generate more revenue. But for us, we're looking beyond that, right? We're looking to build relationships with customers, hopefully to go beyond transactional relationships, right? More of that relational relationship where we can help one another, right? That is the goal.
I think this is great because I think there's this preconceived idea that you have to choose if you wish to offer third-party delivery apps such as Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, and DoorDash, or your own website. That's basically the preconceived idea that you need to choose between either. Well, we're seeing more and more restaurants who are using both, and that's basically what we're telling restaurants. You should be using both, but just like you said, Andi, earlier, you said you need to inform your customers that you have your own platform, and they'll get benefits from visiting your own platform, and that way you get to own that data because you know who these customers are. You know your most recurring customers, what they're buying. You get access to all that data. So what we're saying is that you could be using both, but you should find creative ways to have your customers move over from a third-party delivery apps platform onto your own website. So giving them incentives to order from your restaurants. And I think my question is, because you said it's a flat fee, so you're with UEAT, and in this example, UEAT and DoorDash Drive integration, you can offer a flat fee. So it's a fixed rate delivery regardless of the order amount. So a customer visits Kinton Ramen, they pick delivery. Will they see that it's provided by DoorDash, or how does it work for your customers when they pick delivery on your website?
So it'll simply say delivery fee. So once you add items to your cart, it'll just say a delivery fee. It doesn't matter how big the size of your cart is, delivery fee remains the same, right? And so that's how we're doing it. And I think, of course, the cost savings is certainly a benefit, right? But I think it'll be benefit to customers as well, right? And in some cases, with each of our brands, sometimes we'll have free delivery campaigns as well, right? It's something that we're trying to, work with DoorDash in terms of, can we offer this more frequently? Again, kind of going with the objective of making sure that we are able to help customers during this time, right? But also hopefully for customers to purchase from us so that they can help us as well during this time, right? So we're trying to always figure out ways on how we can actually benefit both our parties instead of just one side, right?
That's great. And basically what you're saying is that on your example with UEAT fully integrated, that way you can offer delivery for your customers without having to hire your own drivers or get your own delivery fleet, right? You're offering, and you don't have to give away a pricey commission that way. And it's all happening on your website. And just like you said, customers, they'll see delivery, they might see the fee, but they won't be redirected to another website. They'll remain on Kinton Ramen's website, right?
Exactly. So the customers hopefully will get the full brand experience, right? Not only from UEAT, but also our website as well.
That's great. And moving forward with marketing, because marketing, you have some fantastic promotions and ideas. It's extremely colorful. So I took like my favorite three different promotions that you have currently on your own website. And you talked earlier about a newsletter, and it actually piqued my curiosity because I got to say, do you mind sharing your approach to keeping your customers engaged and in the loop with your newsletter?
Sure. I mean, so first and foremost, anything that we do, anything that is new about our brand, customers will know about it, right? Of course, for the most part, we'll do the promotions and any sort of programs that we have, but certainly we'll let customers know what those are so that they can take advantage of that offer, right? But, recently, Kinton Ramen, we've gone through a rebranding, so to speak, right? So we have a new logo. I think some customers will notice that we have the pig logo before. I love the pig logo. I think the pig is cute, but I think moving forward, given the direction of the brand specifically, a change is needed to make sure that we're able to keep up with the market, making sure that the logo is encompassing everybody, not just a select group of people, right? But the newsletter specifically is any update that we have regarding the brand, whether it's our logo change, whether it's our promotions, whether it's our a program or an event that we're participating in. We'll let customers know that those things are happening, right? We want to make sure that they're involved, every step of the way, right? For customers specifically, without them, we wouldn't be here, right? That's basically it, right? So, and because of that, we try to make sure that we keep them in the loop as much as possible.
And how frequent is that newsletter?
So the newsletter right now, it's about once a week. About once a week, yeah. Which right now we think that is sort of the frequency that works for us. Right now, if we have more things to communicate, perhaps more than that. But at the same time, you don't want to bombard consumers with multiple emails a week, right? I think that will sort of deter them from opening further emails, and if that's the case, they're going to miss some really good updates.
That's great, and there's also something that I'm particularly proud of, because this is actually one technique that we share at the UEAT University. We share with restaurants that they should be using that. If you take a look at the first one right here, you have this all original ramen, and then you see available exclusively on your own website. So Can you tell us a bit more about why you decided to offer specific meals exclusively on your own platform?
Right. So the reason behind that is the commission with delivery platforms, right? There are larger fees associated with that as opposed to going through our online ordering platform specifically, right? So this is something that we work with our finance team with, and this is the direction that we're going with, in that we are going to go with exclusive deals specifically on UEAT, our online ordering platform, right? I think there are several benefits there. Obviously, we get to have the customer's database. We have to, we get their information. We can personalize the communications moving forward, right? But also, it's to increase the awareness of the fact that Kinton Ramen has their own online ordering platform, right? So for those that do not want to order through food delivery apps, then they get to go to UEAT and actually order directly from us.
Plus, you get to, like you said, you get to own the data, and you can still offer delivery. And this time, it's a flat fee, which
right.
I gotta say, which is great. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, and again, to be quite frank, it's that a lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants, they mark up their prices on third-party food delivery apps, right, to combat the commission, right? If we go to an online, to our UEAT platform, we don't do that because there is no commission that we're paying, right? So the price that you see on our online ordering platform and UEAT is the same price that you're going to see when you're dining in or when you're ordering for takeout.
Interesting.
Right.
So it's the same price because you can offer that same price because you're not paying a pricey commission, right?
Exactly.
Great. And yourself, as a marketing manager, do you have any tips to help restaurateurs build their loyalty in this day and age?
So in terms of loyalty specifically, I think customer database is certainly important. Having UEAT has that capability as well, where we're able to house customer information and customer data, right? It's our way of we haven't done this yet, to be quite frank. We're looking to do this. We're trying to figure out ways on how to do this, but we have to personalize that communication, right? We need to be able to segment certain customer database, create customer segments, different customer segments, depending on perhaps, past purchases or frequently ordered items, right? Those are the things that we can do. And from there, personalize the communication, personalize the email newsletters that they receive, making sure that our offer they're tailored towards that specific customer segment, right? And I think that's an important aspect. And a lot of businesses do this where we do personalize the communication, right? And that's something that we're looking to do here as well. And I think it's a huge part in making sure that customers stay loyal to a brand for sure.
That's great, because it's, once again, a customer's expectation is personalization when they go online, and they're kind of expecting the same thing. If you're keeping in touch with them, if you're just sending them the exact same promotion that their neighbors, it's not the same experience as if you are ordering that specific ramen, like for the past month or so. Here's an extra something to add on to what you're constantly ordering, basically, and which is great because it's all about personalization, getting these customers engaged, and like you said, available exclusively on your own platform. These are great incentives to get customers, raise awareness about your brand. And you talked earlier also about promotions, because I think this, once again, there's this preconceived idea that if you want to get your customers engaged or loyalty, you need to go through creating promotions, which obviously promotions help, but it's not the only way to get your customers engaged. But I'm kind of curious to see, because we have like 3 different examples right here on the screen, but how do you choose which promotion to use and when?
So for us, what we try to do is we try to associate a promotion with a specific event, I would say, right? So kind of taking our anniversary, our 9th anniversary, for example, which was actually last week on May 18th. It's our 9th year, and that's where the $9.99 comes from, right? It's sort of like a fun twist to it, right? So not only are we able to offer you something special, but we're also able to highlight our anniversary as well, right? Now, during this campaign specifically, this is where we're going to essentially unveil our new tagline, unveil our new logo, right? So, when it comes to a promotion, we try to make sure that we are sort of, if we're able to speak beyond just the offer itself, just the promotion itself, it's something that we'll look to do for sure, right? And I think the contest that you see there, enter to win a free monthly ramen for a year, that's associated with the 9th anniversary as well, right? And so this is sort of, making sure that our promotion is maximized as much as possible.
Who could say no to a free monthly ramen for a year?
Of course.
And how are you using social media to promote your restaurant, to promote these anniversaries or these promotions?
Social media is a huge part of what we do. It essentially, I will say, all of our promotions, any sort of updates, you can actually find it through our social media. And at this point, it's without social media, it's somewhat difficult for us, somewhat difficult to get that messaging out to inform customers of what we have, right? So I think whether you like it or not, social media needs to be integrated with what you're doing on a daily basis, right? Because a huge chunk of your demographic, a huge chunk of your target audience will be using that platform for sure.
So you're active on pretty basically all social media, or is there, it's just my curiosity, is there one that you're?
Yeah, so we use Facebook and Instagram. More specifically, we noticed that a lot of our audience, they're using those 2 platforms specifically, and therefore very, very active. If somebody has any questions or concerns, we have someone that will address those questions through those platforms.
That's great. All right. So Andi, next section, because I see I do personally, this is one of the favorite sections. It's let's talk specifically about artificial intelligence, because obviously I do have a few examples, but since you're currently using UEAT, which is powered by artificial intelligence for recommendations and menu personalization, do you believe that if a restaurant owner and operator wishes to offer AI to their customers inside their restaurant, do they need to be a computer whiz to fully benefit from the technology?
Yeah, so I'm not a computer whiz myself, to be honest with you. So for me, I think it's about being able to extrapolate that information, is being able to analyze that information and produce quality insights. I think that, to me, is a component that is critical aside from being able to create and develop reports, right? So no, I don't believe that you have to be a computer whiz. But you do need to know how to communicate your findings. I think that, to me, is really, really important. And that's what we do here with Kinka Family, as well, is to leverage AI as much as we can, given the data that we have.
Yeah, because you said it, because artificial intelligence can find commonalities between, let's say, a million orders. They can find commonalities, which for even if you had a dedicated team taking a look at every single orders, finding commonalities, AI can find that in a second. So offer these personalized experiences, right?
Exactly. And making sure that you have a story to tell as well, right? Making sure that there's something there that you can do to, whether it's identifying a trend, identifying any insights, is to be able to tell that story.
Exactly. I love that story. And how is artificial intelligence helping your restaurant or the entire brand?
Yeah. So again, I'm going back to Kinton Ramen, because obviously that's our main brand. But on our UEAT platform specifically, you'll notice that when you order an item, when you add an item to your cart, right, you'll see that there are recommended suggestions that you can add as well, right? Whether it's a side, which is usually a side, add a side to your order. Those are based off of perhaps your previous transactions that you've had, right? Previous purchases that you've made, right? So that's one example that we've done here with Kinton Ramen specifically.
Love that, because I think it's a great segue, because the thing is, artificial intelligence, going back to what's in it for the customer and what's in it for you, for restaurant owners and operators, but basically for customers, they're requesting a personalized experience. That's what they're requesting. And you said, depending on what they're adding to their cart, that's a great example. So depending on what they're adding to their carts, previously, every single customer, they used to have the same experience in taking a look at, say, a paper menu. So taking a look at the paper menu, it's the exact same menu for everybody. But online, you have the luxury of having the possibility of switching things around, having different recommendations depending on who's holding the phone, who's in front of the computer. So a few here examples of how, in this case, AI can help, and how we're currently helping restaurants, like you said, most popular combinations, but weather, seasonal events, so changing the layout, changing the recommendations based on demographics, customer preferences, meal attributes, so taking a look at the ingredients, what's in the meal, making sure that if you offer additional meal, it's going to meet these criterias, and obviously date and time and geographic location. So where you are, again, this goes back to my question earlier about in Canada and the US, do you see any subtle differences? But geographic location can make recommendations. But obviously there's this jargon about AI, and I would just want to summarize it as simply as possible. I think I got a great example right here to show how this can help customers, and probably you will agree. So let's say you have that customer who maybe like twice or three times already has ordered from your restaurant, and every single time they picked a vegetarian meal. So the fourth time that they do show up on your website, again, because it's your website, when they do show up and they pick, say, let's say they pick just a salad or something. Well, immediately when they click on it, the first thing that pops up, just like you said Andi earlier, the extras. Well, the extras in this example are all vegetarian extras. So I think think of the customer's experience here. I don't know if you would agree, but take a look at the customer experience. Would you go back to a restaurant that offers that?
I mean, yes and no. It's again, like you said, this is based off of AI, right? So, would I be surprised that these recommendations would show up? No, I wouldn't, right? Because I'm sure they have my information, right? But then the issue becomes, well, what if I do want other options instead of vegetables? What if I do want to add meat to it, right? So I think we have to think about, maybe this is sort of the top row options, right? Based on your past purchases, these are the recommendations, right? But then maybe we'll add another row where you have other suggested recommendations as well, right?
That's spot on. I think that's great, because what if I'm a meat lover, and what if the first 3 times I ordered, that was for my mother, and now I'm ordering for myself, and I'm a meat lover. Which is great, Andi, because it all goes back to AI making recommendations and constantly learning. Did the system make the right recommendations? Because again, going back before, the recommendations were all human-based. They were all made by humans based on their understanding of their customers. So they were like, I believe my customers will pick this when they pick said item, which is AI removes basically these this idea and just make recommendations and constantly learning something new. Make sure that, again, that you have, in this example, the adaptive menu layout if you're a meat lover, or if you prefer vegetarian options. And it's all about personalization. I think that's the key word here, that personalization is key.
Right. For sure.
And the time is running out. There's one last topic I want to discuss. Okay. Let's look forward. Let's be optimistic. What advice, Andi, would you give to restaurant operators for 2021, some of them are currently in the reopening phase? What advice would you give to restaurants to attack 2021 heads on?
I think, be sensitive to customer preferences at this point, right? I think a lot of times restaurants is that, yes, we understand that we're struggling. We understand that we're trying to get by. But I think it's making sure that your in-store signages are on point, that you have signages to make sure that customers feel protected, to make sure that you have a website, that you have perhaps a section for COVID-19 updates specifically pertaining to your restaurant, right? I think it's more about making sure that customers feel safe when they are either dining in with you, whether ordering takeout with you. Let them know what you're doing, right? The necessary steps that you're taking to make sure that they are comfortable with your brand, to make sure that they trust your brand. So I think that is, the tip that I would make, is to make sure that you are as transparent as possible with your customers.
I think this is also a great, fantastic idea of having either a dedicated section on your own website to share what you're currently doing, because this is obviously one of the major concerns. But if you put that front and center, your customers are going to feel comfortable and, again, trustworthy, and order from your restaurant or visit your restaurant, depending. And I think my very last question, Andi, for you is, are you optimistic for 2021?
You know what? I am. I think given what we've gone through the past, was it 2 years now? Almost 2 years. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Given what we've gone through, I'm not sure we can get any worse. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we don't get worse. But yes, I'm definitely optimistic. I think given the restrictions that have happened, the guidelines that we have in place, not everybody agrees with it, but we are, making positive steps.
That's awesome. Andi, I gotta say, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. Valuable insight, valuable tips. I hope everyone here enjoyed it as well. There's one last thing I want to share for those of you who attended the webinar. If you want to schedule a free meeting to simply analyze your upsell potential, because again, there's a lot of potential for upsell, systematically offering upsell in a way that is frictionless and even personalization with AI. Shoot me a quick email. It's quite simple. rp@ue.io, and I'll be in touch. It'll be my pleasure to put you in touch with our menu profitability experts to make sure that you are able to attack the second half of 2021 heads on. Again, Andi, thank you so much. People, if you do have any questions, feel free to, you can send them by emails and also send them by the chat window. But again, that was great, and I can't wait to physically visit your restaurant location, hopefully pretty soon. And you stay safe.
Hopefully.
And thanks for your time, Andi. That was great.
Thank you, Rene. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.